Deep from the bowels of the Macabre Theater Laboratory, we bring you Macabre Cast. There is nothing wrong with your streaming service. You are exactly where you should be, where the slush puppy machine is always on and cold. Your favorite horror mag is on the rack, displayed discreetly between Women's Wear Daily and Cosmopolitan. I'm your host, Doc Mark, along with my mold-riddled counterpart, Karis, the Little Mummy, here to bring you another episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. This is a safe space for those who would rewind to be kind, but the film they rented was always somewhere left in the middle. Newbies welcome, regulars welcome back, and worshippers, away with you. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button. Tell a friend to do the same. Even that guy that puts the bag of chips back in the cabinet with nothing left but crumbs. Yeah, that guy. If you want to interact with fellow Monster Kids, follow the Facebook page, Macabre Theater. It's there where you can send me a voice message through Messenger and be part of this show. A link to the page can be found in the description of this episode. Macabre Cast episode 130 begins now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Adoro il cast macabro.
So the topic is, there really isn't one. This is a chance for Monster Kids to revisit old topics. Maybe ones they never got to weigh in on. Now, I say that all the time because you can always bring up old topics anytime you want. But sometimes it's good just to send out a reminder, like have an episode where that's the topic. Don't you think?
I guess so. Want me to do the joke now?
Is it me, Karis, or are you always hustling this show along?
No, I open the show with a joke. It's time for the joke. So, I have an addiction to brake fluid.
You have an addiction to brake fluid?
Yeah, but at least I can stop whenever I want to.
And on that note, it's time for horror news.
Life's river showers, she said, open only the strong shall spray, she said, but I'm feeling quite weak, she said.
Black Phone 2 was released digitally last week. The documentary of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Chain Reactions, is coming to Blu-ray. Along with the documentary will be 8 different cuts of the film. 2 16mm, a 35mm, a VHS bootleg, Super 8mm, and a Betamax. Who knew so many cuts of this film existed? Conjuring prequel with James Wan producing is in the works. Oded Farah says that the cast from the 1999 version of The Mummy would gladly make another sequel. Well, seeing what Brendan Fraser's career turned into, I don't blame him. On the same front, Arnold Schwarzenegger has had multiple meetings about returning to the Predator franchise. Army of Darkness, the board game, is set to release in February of 2026, and John Carpenter's The Thing Part 2 is now in production. And that's it for horror news.
She said,
And Draven agrees. Draven the blood-vomiting bat.
Children of the night, what music they make.
So, as you know, Karis, Horror Chat Matt last time brought up Dudley Road, and I said I would delve more into Dudley Road, and we're going to do that a bit later on.
Knock, knock.
Didn't we already do a joke?
Just knock, knock.
Who's there?
Joker.
Joker who?
You want I should wash the dead bugs off the windshield?
Hey, Dark Mark and Karis, the little mummy, and all the kids out there in Monsterland. Well, last week was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it very much. I really enjoyed the big Halloween show. I love the fact that you're getting back to telling ghost stories as well. You know, as movies, I love to hear a good ghost story. I won't say that I have a good ghost story this week, but you said we could bring back something from the past that we didn't get a chance to comment on, so I'm going to tell a little story. Well, it's more of a recommendation of something to do if you're looking for some spooky fun. And my favorite month to do this is in November, and I've done it a few years in a row, is to go to Fall River and check out the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. Now, I'm sure that everybody listening, all the listeners from Massachusetts at least, know who Lizzie Borden is and know the lore behind that. They have a bed and breakfast in Fall River that you can rent. And usually me and a bunch of my cousins or friends go up there and rent the house for the night. And you can get about 10, 12 people in there. There's like 4 bedrooms and maybe 5 bedrooms. But it's really nice if you don't mind roughing it. There's no TVs or, computers or anything like that. You just go up there, you tell ghost stories. It's almost like being in a museum. The decor is so beautiful, and it's so it's just exactly like it was in the time that the murders happened. And they'll give you a tour when you first go there and tell you the stories they have a little gift shop, and then you just get to stay in the house overnight. And when we stayed there one time in 2017, my daughter Violet was about 13, we did have an incident. A lot of people say, oh, well, did anything happen? Well, this time something did happen. It was kind of creepy. In 2017, and there's a disclaimer here, the house changes hands all the time. It's been sold like 3 times since I've been going. And so it's no reflection on the current owners. And, if you take this story in a bad way. Anyway, we were all hunkered down for the night. We were using the Ouija board, and I don't think they allow you to use Ouija boards anymore. But we were just having a really good time and eating pizza and, having a good time. And then when we all went to sleep I'm saying this now, this is the truth, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Violet bolted up out of bed from a nightmare or something. And I'm saying 3 o'clock because, that's the spookiest time of the night. And she got out of bed and ran into the bathroom and started throwing up. And I was baffled because she never really got sick when she was younger that much, And so I went outside, and I, knocked on the door, "Are you okay?" And she was like, fine. She felt better after she threw up, but she didn't remember the dream or anything. And but I noticed when I was in the hallway that I could smell natural gas. So I was like, that's, this is weird. So I went downstairs and I woke everybody up. And you could smell it stronger on the second floor. And then when you went down to the first floor, it was really strong. So we called the owners, and they came down. And it turned out that the pilot light in the stove went out. And now I don't know anything about this sort of stuff. So they came, they took care of it. They opened the windows. Everything was fine. We still were having a really good time. And we probably slept for about another hour that night. But then in the morning, we were woken up by a film crew. They showed up from the Travel Channel, the Travel Network, with Pat Spain. I don't know if anybody knows who that is out there. But they, they do documentaries on different things. And they did a documentary of the house that morning. and they were in there filming it, and we just happened to be there, so we got interviewed, and it was really cool. And the pilot light went out again while they were there, and the house filled up with natural gas again. So I don't know if that's in the documentary, but because I never actually saw it, but I saw parts of it on YouTube. You can look it up. Anyway, that's all. If you're looking for something spooky to do, it's a new owner. I've been there a couple of years ago, and we had a really good time. We had no incidences, and it's always spooky and fun. And in the morning, you can get up and you can go down to the cemetery, which isn't far from the house, and see where everybody's buried and everything. And it's really cool. It's a cool thing to do. Other than that, this week I saw a movie called I See You. And I wanted to mention that because somebody recommended it to me, but they said you have to go in blind. So I can't tell you anything about it. But I would like to say that if you want something interesting to watch, there's a movie called I See You. Go out and check it out if you've heard of it. Okay, so I guess that's all I really have to say this week because I've been so busy with Halloween being disappointed without any trick-or-treaters this year. After spending $40 on candy, nobody showed up. But I'm kind of let down that Halloween's over. So at least I got Macabre cast to look forward to. Thanks for keeping it going, Mark. And thanks for listening, Monster Kids. And I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed the Halloween show. You know, because so much more work goes into that episode, the Halloween shows, than all the others. And it always gets the least views. I mean, for some reason, viewership has dropped considerably the last few episodes. So I don't know if I have to reformat what I'm doing or what. But something is going south. I don't know. And the ghost stories, yes, Halloween time inspires me to delve into that stuff. And I'm so glad you shared the Lizzie Borden experience. Weird how fascinated we are with spending the night in a murderer's house. Is this all stem from not hunting and killing our own food? Because we're so removed from death and killing that stuff like this sparks an inner child? I don't know. I digress. Do you have plans to return this year to the Borden house? Because inquiring minds want to know. So great hearing from you, Chicago Tina, and we hope to hear from you again next week.
See you later, alligator.
I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. I don't wanna be buried in a pet cemetery. I don't want to live my life again.
VHS Halloween, directed by Brian Ferguson, Casper Kelly, and R.H. Norman, starring David Hayden, Anna McKelvey, and Adam James Johnson. A strung-together collection of Halloween-themed videotapes makes for a fun Halloween watch. I have not been a champion for the VHS franchise, but this one I really enjoyed. Super fun, mostly unnerving, and tons of over-the-top gore. Just how I like it. From tales of people leaving bowls of candy out with signs that say take just one, and boy, what happens if you take more than one? Yikes. To the house on the block that people avoid and don't trick-or-treat at. All the way to the home haunt that goes horribly wrong when the guy running it plays a stolen satanic record as the family haunts soundtrack. Laura Horror was a little put off by this over-the-top bloodbath, but I really enjoyed it myself and could see pulling this one out in years to come. I give VHS Halloween 3.5 stars out of 5. Dark Mark recommends you to check it out.
Go check it out. Go check it out. Go check it out.
Look at her, Chat, sitting over there in the corner, trying to eat a Tootsie Roll and a Starburst at the same time, with that big smug look on his face. How's it going, Horror Chat?
Won't you tell me what is wrong? Yeah, let's talk.
Hey, Doc Mark, Little Cars, and all the Monster Kids hanging out at the theater this week. It's Horror Chat Matt back again. So, Doc, a topic that I wanted to bring up this week is things that will take you out of a movie. And we've talked about this before with the CGI blood. And I'm not against CGI in general. I don't like it when it's overdone, but I certainly hate CGI blood. They just have yet to perfect that, and it always just looks fake when they do it. Another thing that will always take me out of a movie, especially if it's a period piece, is when they have modern music that is not set in the time period that the movie is supposed to be taking place. And the last thing that always gets me as somebody who's served in the military, it's not so much when military uniforms are wrong. That's more of a manager's issue. That will take me out if they're wearing their cap the wrong way or the wrong unit patch and stuff like that. But that's not an overall deal breaker for me. But there is just something lazy about an actor that doesn't know how to salute properly. That, when they salute an officer and they have their hand all over the place, that always just, I'm like, oh, what are they doing? There was no effort put forth there to try and be authentic to the character that you're playing. Now, going back to the music not being of the proper era, sometimes it does work. TV shows like Pinky Blinders, which is set in the 1920s, 30s, and early 40s, if I can remember correctly, they would use modern music, but for some reason it just worked with the show, probably because it was just so over the top. And then for a somewhat newer show, HBO's remake of the Yul Brynner movie Westworld, they would mix in, I really like the way they did this, they would mix in current music and classic like rock and roll songs, but they would just play it as like classical music, and it was up to you to listen closely and try and figure out what song they were playing. And that ended up becoming a game with the show towards the end. But that show also kind of cheated, because if you're familiar with the TV show or the movie, while they are visiting the ancient West or feudal Japan and other past time periods, they're actually in modern day times. So they could, that's a little bit of a cheat, but I kind of like the way they did that. And this is a long way of saying that I watched a movie this past weekend, and I don't really think I can give it a good recommendation, but I'm not going to totally trash it either. But I watched Primitive War, which is basically a Jurassic Park ripoff set during the Vietnam War. And it's about a group of soldiers that are going in to rescue a Delta Force team. And along the way, they discover there's dinosaurs. And they definitely spent a lot of money on this movie. But I don't know if they spent it the right way. The special effects were bad, but almost good. And they spent money on the soundtrack because they actually had authentic music to the era. A lot of Creedence Clearwater Revival in there. You can't do a Vietnam War movie without some CCR, apparently. And the action was decent. Basically, what this boiled down to was it was a Sci-Fi Channel original movie with a much bigger budget, but still had the cheesiness of a Sci-Fi Channel movie. But I think one of the things that kind of hurt it was it took itself serious, but not serious enough that like you could make fun of it and enjoy it that way. It's just a very odd movie. And the running time is also an issue. It was 2 hours and 14 minutes long, I think. But they swung for the fences with this one. If you have nothing else to do, you like dinosaur movies, you like war movies, if you want a weird mix-up of the two, I recommend watching it. But again, I would not go out of my way for this thing. As always, Mark, make mine Macabrecast. Well, one more thing. Thanks again for letting me have the key cars. I did want to say one more thing about Primitive War. If I had seen this when I was a kid, 13 years or younger, I would probably say this would probably be one of my favorite movies of all time. But unfortunately, I'm not that young kid anymore. Still, worth a watch, I guess, at the end of the day. Once again, as always, make mine Macabrecast.
Yeah, Horror Chat, I'm not really against CGI. And if you have the money, it can be done right. It's when it's overused, too. Like you mentioned blood. Do we really need to use it for blood? You know, when probably the cheapest effect you can buy on a movie set is probably fake blood. So if it's used subtly or only when you absolutely have to, I don't know, like a UFO going by in the background for 30 seconds, when it's sparingly used, it can work. Modern music, I'm going to tell you where a film I saw where it was fantastic and it fits great. It was Inglourious Bastards by Quentin Tarantino. And it's set during World War II. And they used the David Bowie song, Putting Out the Fire with the Gasoline. It's the best scene in the whole movie. Really works. But I understand what you mean. When you make a period piece, you want to try to pick stuff that actually came out in that time. And I don't go out of my way to see dinosaur movies. Not big into dinosaurs, unless it's like King Kong. Because, then I'm there for Kong. And, if there's dinosaurs in it, cool. That definitely makes the film better. Or if it's Jurassic Park, because that's Spielberg money. If you have Spielberg money, then it can look fantastic. Thank you, Horror Chat, for always contributing. And, maybe when we switch over to TikTok challenges, you can join us then, too. Have a great week. Hope to hear from you again soon.
I'm gonna pack my suitcase. Yes, I'm moving on down the line. I know there's nobody worrying. Well, it ain't nobody crying. Every day I have the blues.
Hey, you ever wish you were the coolest monster kid on the street? Now you can be. Macabrecast shirts, beanies, and now Java mugs. Message Doc for Venmo info.
So, Horror Chat Matt, as I mentioned earlier, brought up the haunted stomping ground of Billerica in Bedford, Mass., Dudley Road. This was an episode or so back, and he spoke about the different campfire stories that everybody shared about that place back in the day. But like I said, you talk with some of the old-timers from that area, and you get the real story. Every urban legend is birthed from truth. So I ventured out of the lab to get the story. Are you from this area? Have you lived here all your life?
Yes, I have.
What do you think or know about the stories about Dudley Road?
Don't even ask me about it. That place is simply evil.
Okay, well, thank you very much, ma'am. Excuse me, have you lived here all your life?
Why, actually, yes.
What can you tell me about haunted Dudley Road?
Why can't people just leave it alone? Some things weren't meant to be disturbed. I've said all I have to say.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. For a while, it seemed like that was all we were going to get. Until I ran into Mr. John Atkins. Mr. John Atkins, correct?
Yep, that's correct. You wanted to know about Dudley Road, the real story. Behind every myth, there is a truth. The story of Dudley Road doesn't start in Billerica or Bedford, the two towns it runs through. It begins in Tewksbury, in a place we now know as the Tewksbury State Hospital. It was established in 1852 as an almshouse for the poor. In 1866, it became the first facility to care for the mentally ill. By 1941, the number of patients was pushing capacity. By 1965, it was well over capacity. During this time, Harold Earl was their newest patient. He had brutally murdered and mutilated several young girls. Because the hospital was so understaffed at this time, security had become, well, I guess you could say lax, creating the opportunity for Harold Earl to simply slip away. It's presumed he headed toward the town of Billerica. Over on Dudley Road, the seminary for men had just changed over to a convent for nuns, called the Daughters of St. Paul.
There's been many stories about these nuns. Some say they were Satan-worshipping nuns.
No, that's an old campfire tale. Now, that's not to say that that place wasn't full of bizarre stories. There was a young nun that hung herself. A lot of people say she was carrying the child of a priest, but truth is, no one knows why she hung herself. Anyway, Harold Earl shows up on Dudley Road, which is nothing at this time but a long dirt road engulfed in a forest, with trees hanging so far over on the road there's only room enough for one car, like large fingers pulling it back. So Harold breaks into this house not more than 20 feet from this nunnery. He kills the entire family and just stays there and sleeps there among the bodies for days. He notices the nunnery and becomes, well, curious. Well, it's not long before a few of the sisters go missing, if you know what I mean. One day, the Mother Superior, she starts to notice some things. She catches sight of this guy she doesn't recognize, so she casually follows him. Sees him enter that family's house. It's just starting to get dark, mind you, but she makes her way to the house anyway. The scene she walked into was the most shocking and grisly scene police had ever seen. Hanging in the middle of that living area amongst all the bodies was Harold Earl. Mother Superior, she died 3 days later. You want my opinion? That woman died of fright. Between the years of 1966 and 1968, the house itself began to sink into the earth, right up to the second floor windows, you know? And up until the mid-1980s, you could see it. It was as if Harold Earl was dragging that house down with him to hell.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story with us, Mr. Atkins. For sharing it with Macabrecast.
No problem, young man.
How old were you in 1964 when all this happened?
8 years old. I'm 69 this year. Dudley Road is a very different looking place these days. People who live there don't like the stories, and I don't blame them. It may look different, but it ain't. It reeks of evil. There's a sadness in the air, and it's heavy.
Karis? Karis, where did you go?
Under the covers. I had the snot scared out of me, and I don't even have any snot.
No worries, my moldy friend. I think we have the perfect guest to lighten the mood.
The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello, Doc Mark, Karis the Little Mummy, and all the Macabrecast fans listening. It's me. Thank you. So anyway, I wanted to begin with saying I was really hoping to have seen more movies by this episode 130 that I could give my reviews on. But after the last movie we saw, there really hasn't been anything new out to see. I do want to say that I enjoyed very much episode 129, Mark. I enjoyed you, Hard Chat Matt, Scary Larry, all your stories. Was a lot of fun listening. But yeah, like I said, I don't have any new movies. But nevertheless, I have other things to talk about. I did see a 2016 movie called Dark Signal, which is about a radio station, and they invite a psychic in for, as their radio guest. And I guess the spirit of a murdered girl starts haunting, like coming over their speaker system. And I guess it's a mystery, a murder mystery that they're trying to, that the murder girl's trying to get to the bottom of, or have her body discovered or something like that. But it wasn't bad. It's not something I'm recommending, but it's something that, if you had time, it wasn't a bad watch. Also, I have a question. You talk about revisiting topics, and I wanted to revisit on weapons because I have a question about it. I rewatched it, and I did like it more than when I first originally seen it. I will say that much. However, I'm curious as to the whole, that, the woman there, the evil woman, was her whole thing about getting the children to stay, was that to stay young? Was she like trying to get a tribe of zombies, like to kill everybody in the neighborhood? Like, what was her purpose?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's what I didn't really understand. I thought it was a cool movie. Like I said, I liked it better the second time because I really didn't care very much for the first time. But I still don't understand what her purpose was of kidnapping the children and locking them up. It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, I just wanted to revisit that anyway. Mark, I'm curious, did you ever finish watching Terrifier 3? Because I remember last time you talked about it, you fell asleep, and then you fell asleep again. So I'm wondering if you ever got to watch it in full yet, and what you thought. Also, have you seen The Joker yet? And no, Chicago Tina did not ask me to ask you this. I'm just busting them. But I do want to know if you ever saw The Long Walk. I hear Horror Chat Matt enjoyed it. Like I said, it was sad, but it was a movie that was better than you would have expected. Definitely. That kind of was surprising. But that's about it. Hopefully, there's Frankenstein coming out on Netflix on, this is on Monday, you get this. I always do this. Coming out November 7th on Netflix, Frankenstein series. So I'm kind of hoping maybe that will be cool. And I know the weekend of the 14th, I think there's a horror movie or two coming out. So maybe by episode 132, I may have more movie reviews. I don't know. But that's about it. I hope everybody's doing well. And I'll talk to you guys all on episode 131. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I am unaware of Dark Signal. I mean, that sounds decent. I've just never heard of it. Weapons, I think the title answers your question. I mean, unless I misunderstood something, I think that she's using that dark power to manipulate people into getting whatever she wants. I mean, that's how I took it. Supposedly there's going to be a prequel to that film coming out, so that could actually answer everybody's questions. Terrifier 3, yes, fell asleep 2 times. It had nothing to do with the film at all. Of course, Jack-O-Lantern had to run and see it without me originally. So I didn't see it till I ended up getting it on DVD, and I have it. And where it's coming up on Christmas time, I did eventually see it the whole way through, and I liked it. I would like to see it again. I'm waiting for this Christmas to come out to check that out again, and maybe see if I like it better or like it less. My favorite so far is 2. I think 2 knocks it out of the park, and I am very much looking forward to 4. Frankenstein on Netflix. I've said it once. I've said it 1,000 times. Del Toro. I'm very unimpressed with him, and I just really hope, and as I've said 1,000 times, I don't want another Shape of Water, whatever it was. I'm hoping he does Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein proud. And no, I haven't seen The Long Walk. That is on my list of things to check out, such as many other things that I still haven't seen. Great hearing from you as always, Metal Melody, and we hope to hear from you again on episode 131. Have a great week.
You know, I forgive you, Metal Melody, so I hope that we're still friends.
Empty sky, empty sky. I woke up this morning to an empty sky. Empty sky, empty sky. I woke up this morning to an empty sky.
Horrible mention.
Oh my gosh. Does that suck?
This week's horrible mention is The Birds 2, Land's End, directed by Rick Rosenthal, starring Brad Johnson, Chelsea Field, and James Naughton. Let me begin by saying I know Alfred Hitchcock's original Birds is a fan favorite, and it is very good, except that non-ending. I think the end of The Birds is dull and appears unfinished. Keep that in mind when watching this feces raft. Rick Rosenthal directed my favorite Halloween sequel, 1981's Halloween 2. Of course, he lost his Monster Kid card when he came back and directed Halloween Resurrection, which stole the crown from Halloween 5 for being the worst of the franchise. But once again, I digress. So instead of getting a competent writer, because this movie had 3, by the way, and between the 3, they couldn't give us a final to this story that Hitchcock failed to do. No, instead they tell another tale, set by the ocean again, about birds on the warpath. At one point, this regurgitated yarn turns into Jaws, with the town mayor refusing to believe that the recent injuries are that of attacking birds. They got Tippi Hedren on board, the star of the original. But why have her be the same character? No, instead, let's make her the shopkeeper. She has stated before that she was embarrassed about her involvement with this film. This float in the poo parade manages to do one thing, and that's have an ending worse than the original. It's almost as though the station cut off the end. It was so abrupt. The Birds 2, Land's End, is this week's
horrible mention.
Don't touch that dial, Monster Kids.
Yeah, you don't know where it's been.
Pipe down. It's almost time for the final thought.
Not quite, bro. Not before. Cobwebbed Classics.
Ooh, yeah. Cobwebbed Classics.
Classics.
Welcome to Cobwebbed Classics, where I dust off a lost, forgotten, or just plain unappreciated film and introduce it to, or maybe just remind you about it, so your spooky Saturday night might run a little creepier. Classic is 1971's The Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman by Leon Klimowski, written and starring Paul Naschy. Paul Naschy loved the Universal Classic monsters, like myself. And when the world lost itself in the treasure trove of films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blood Feast, and Mark of the Devil, Naschy was still making movies about vampires, werewolves, and mummies. These Spanish beauties were at one time so hard to track down, I only got my hands on one in the early 90s from a little hole-in-the-wall video store in New York. System of hard-to-find horror. Small on plot, terrible dubbing, but large on gore. It's as red as you could find it on any comic book page. The cinematography, in slow motion of course, of the monster fight scenes were worth the price of the VHS. Of course, things being what they are now, you can purchase volumes of DVD collections of Paul Naschy's work. Vampire Woman still reigns and probably the most box office successful of the lot. Like many Spanish horror films, were released and re-released under many names. When I got my VHS, it was titled Blood Moon. Patty Shepard was so engrossing as the vampire Wandessa Many thought she was giving Barbara Steele a run for her money as Europe's reigning horror queen. To any horror-thon somewhere in the middle after drinks have been flowing hard and fast. Taglines for this gem are as follows.
Like vintage wine. Someone you hate.
The Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman is this week's
Classics.
Goditi questo episodio de Cost Macabre.
Telling our Italian friends to enjoy this episode of Macabre Cast. In 2001, when the towers fell, and everyone was trying to understand exactly what was happening, so many were lost that day because they simply went to work. Tomorrow being uncertain never echoed so loudly. But in that first week of fear and uncertainty, slowly you could see it gradually building. People were coming together like I had never seen. Flags were tied to every vehicle. Stupid celebrity gossip disappeared from the news. We weren't Democrats or Republicans anymore. We were the human race. And for the most part, the majority were one. Sadly, these days we couldn't be further from that strength. We let manufactured hate divide us. I hope there is a future that doesn't take a tragedy to bring us together again. Beware the moon. Keep clear of the moors. But most of all, remember, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon, I hope.
This is a Macabre Theater production. Subscribe.